Today. So today I'm going to go over with you guys how to use xTool Creative Space. So this is the home page once you open up your xTool Creative Space. The first thing you can do in order to get to your canvas is you can go over here to this plus button and you hit the plus button. It'll open up your canvas. So I have an xTool S1 that's 20 watts. So this is how my canvas looks based off of the area of my, I guess you can say, the base plate. So if you have a different xTool laser machine, then your canvas might look smaller or bigger depending on that. So the first thing I want to show you guys is if you go over here to this X right here, the main menu, once you go hover over it, you can click on this and then you can go here to settings. This is where you can see the settings of your canvas. So right here you can see it's set to be in millimeters. So if you're looking for how to change your units from millimeters to inches, this is where you can do so. And if you need to change your language, this is here as well. And then it has all these different settings that you can look into here. But for just being a beginner, all you really care about is knowing how, from here, all you really care about is knowing how to change from the unit from inches to millimeters. If that the current version you have. So right now, I am using version 2.1.12. So how to get out of this, you just X out of here. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is if you want to import images that you have that you've made on your own, or if you have some that you have from Canva, you just push this image button here and then you can import an image. So in this case, I have an SVG that I did of a light box. So let's open that. So that's how you can import your images here. So if you have an image that you import and it has multiple things on it, usually they import as being grouped together. So in order to ungroup them, you can go up here to this button here and ungroup. So say if you ever buy some files off of Etsy or something and they're grouped together, that's how you would do that. So now you're able to work with these individually. So if you want to undo what you just did, you can go up to here to this button and you push undo to get rid of all the stuff that you put onto your canvas, okay? The next thing I want to show you guys is the text. So if you hit this text button here, all you have to do is press here on your canvas. And how you can work with this is you just type in what you want. So we'll just put in, okay? So once you have what you typed here, if you want to change your font, what you would do is you go up here to this part right here. And that's just basically your fonts. And you can scroll through here to see how to change the font. You can keep that. If you want to change the type of font, if you want to change it to like medium or bolded, this is where you would change that here. If you want to change the size of your font, you have two options. You can go over here to the size and you can update it from right here. So say if you wanted to change this to 40, you can see how the font gets smaller. Or you can literally select the font. You can select the font and go to one of the corner boxes and then you can drag it to make it bigger. And then you'll see the adjustment up here as well. If you want to weld the font together, you can just do weld here. Or say if you want to have an outline to your font, you can hit this. And then it gives it an outline. So I can show you some examples on how you can use that here later. So let's go ahead and delete that. So for this one is if you want to make some shapes. So you can have rectangle, circle, or line. So these are just simple. You just click on the one you want and then you drag and let go of where you want that size or how you want your shape to be. So I don't use this vector one, but this vector one can be used to just like do some freehand drawing. So like if you want to go down, so that's basically how that one works. So I'm going to get out of this. So I got out of that by just hitting escape. I'm just going to highlight all of this because I don't want to keep this. I'm going to delete it. So the next thing you can use, or next thing I want to show you, is shapes. So for the shapes, this is where you can get a lot of different shapes or patterns like that you can use to incorporate into your designs. So for example, you might want to make, say, a heart design. So if you have a heart here, you select that. And say you want to put an animal in there. So you can go down here to the animals and you can select an animal. So we'll just do a butterfly. So then you can put a butterfly in the center here. And you see how it centers it. So if you move it, and you can see how it centers it horizontally and vertically. So you know that it centers exactly how you need it to be. Okay. So to get out of that, you just hit this little shape thing again and it closes that box. So then I'm going to delete this out. So another thing that you guys can use is this AI function. So the AI function basically lets you type in whatever you want to type, or you can use some of the images that are already on here to add to your design. So for example, if you go up here, you have different selections. You have, I don't know what to do, so I can just try a random prompt, or you can make a full quote design. You can customize your own logo, etc. So let's go over here to no idea. So this is where you put your own prompt in. So you can go here. So these are some that I've just played around with just to see how I can have those come up. So what you do is you go here to description and you can type, say, a tiger on a motorcycle. And you push generate. Then you just wait for it to generate. And then this is how you get these. So then if you wanted to, say, download these, so if you wanted it to look like this, you can go over here and you can either download or you can import to XCS. So download means that you would just download it to your computer so that you always have this file, or you can upload it to XCS. So that's what we'll do. So I'll put that, import to XCS. So I'll do that. And then it asks you if it's a big image, if you want to scale it to fit. I always say yes. And then you can take that corner and then you can reduce the size that way to make it smaller. Or you can go up here. So this is how you can adjust your width or your height. And you can change it here as well. So say if you change this to 5, press enter, it changes it to the smaller size. What else you can do with this is, say, if you wanted to make this adjustment without it being at the aspect ratio, you can take this chain link here, the aspect ratio, and you can unlink it. So that way now you can adjust these the way that you want to without it adjusting with the aspect ratio. So that's how you do that. Okay, so now let's get into some other features here. So say if you want to work on your first design, we'll do two things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you guys, we'll go to shapes and we'll go over here to a heart. Okay, gonna make that bigger. I'm gonna get another heart and then another one. And then I'm gonna close this out. All right, so I want to show you guys the different functions. So the first thing I want to show you is how you can change your material. So you go up here to user defined material here at the right, top right. You click on this and you can put whatever material that you want to use or you're going to use. Settings already in place for these types of materials. They can be used as starting points because sometimes they might not work, sometimes they do. I've had a lot of I'm able to use a lot of these settings directly off of this list and I don't really have to change them at all. So these are a good starting point. So we're going to work with some 3mm basswood plywood. So I'm going to select that and I'm going to push confirm. So now it's showing me over here the power that is set for if it was score. If it was on score, it will show the power that it's going to use, the speed, and the passes. So let me show you this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you these 3 different settings here. So I'm going to make this heart, the bigger heart, I'm going to make a cut using this. So it just shows you the settings that it's going to use to cut out the heart. And then I'm going to make a little bigger, this one a little bigger. And I'm just going to center this. And for this one, I'm going to set this one to score. So you can see what that looks like. And then for this one, I'm going to set this one, get a little bit bigger, to engrave. Okay. So this one is set to cut and you can see the different settings for the basswood plywood based off of being cut. The second layer, so as you can see, it highlights the layer that you want to select. So then I'm going to select that one. I'm going to leave that at score so you can see that it has a different settings for the scoring for the basswood plywood. And then lastly, I have this center one set to engrave. So you can see that it has the settings when it's going to engrave on that basswood plywood. Okay, so let's go do that and I'll show you guys how to go through that whole process. Let me show you guys how you can determine the order of how it will cut, engrave, and score if you have those 3 settings. So when I first had these on here, they were all set to blue color. So how you change the color is you can right click and you can go out down here and you can change the color. So I'm changing red. I changed this blue one to red so that it's gonna be the ones that I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna have those be in red. I kept the score one in this light blue color and then I right clicked and changed the engrave one to this purple color. So now if you want it to do each one of these settings in the order that you want, you go down to this left button here that says layer and object list. You click this and this is where you can arrange how it's going to cut or how it's going to process. So in this case, it has red at the top, purple second, and blue last. So if you want to change it, you just select the red one and then you drag it down to the bottom. And then if you say you want the purple to be first, which is the engraving, and then the blue, which is the scoring, to be second, and then the cutting to be last, that's how you can arrange it that way. But if you want it to be any other way, like I said, you just pick the one you want and then you drag it to where you want it. You want it to be at the top or you want it to be at the bottom. Okay, so that's how you can do that. If you want to save a file that you're working with, how you do that is you go over here to the main menu and then you do File, and then you can save your project this way. If you want to open up a project that you've already done, then the same thing, you go to main menu, File, Open Project, and then you can find a project that you have saved recently or in the past. This is how you find those projects that you save. And they're usually like these xcs.xcs files that you can open. Okay. And then right here is another way that you can import your images. So you had this right here where you can import your image, or you can go up to the main menu, File, and then go here to import your image. You can also rename your files right here. You can export as a SVG. So say if you have a file that you want to either share with someone else, or say if you are creating files to be sold, you can export them as a SVG and then you can sell them, say, on a place like Etsy from right here as well. Okay, so for the first thing I want to show you guys, let's get a piece of basswood plywood. I got a small piece and I'm going to show you guys what you need to do with this. So first, you'll put it into your honeycomb and you're going to make sure that you place your laser right over top of it. So the reason that you do this is because you want to get your distance measurement. So that's what we're going to do now. So to connect your device, you'll just click on your machine up here to the top right, and you'll push this here and you push connect. Do your distance measurement, you want to go over here to this ruler that says auto measure. You're going to push this and then you're going to see the distance being measured. This measures the distance from your material to your laser. If you ever have it to where it goes to measure your material and it gives you an error because this point did not touch your material, that means that your material is too far down. You need to lift this tray up higher in order for your material to be able to be close enough to the laser so that it can get an accurate distance measurement. If you ever come into a point where it seems like it's too close, you can move your tray down to one of these other levels or just put it on top of your table. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to get the area of the material that you're measuring. So since this is a square, I'm going to use the rectangle feature. So you go over here to xTool Creative Space and you see this little flag. You hit this to mark your processing area. I'm going to show you guys how to do the rectangle, and we'll do another project in this video and I'll show you how to use the circle. So hit rectangle, start marking. Then what you want to do is you want to get your top left corner, and you're going to hit the button here. Once you get that, then you're going to move your laser over to the bottom right and then hit this button again. So in xTool Creative Space, this is how the area will look that you marked. You're going to hit this end marking to accept it and push done. Then you'll see exactly where on your honeycomb or your base plate that you measured your material. So your design will need to be sized appropriately. So the way to do that is you can highlight everything that you want, and you can go from this corner piece here and size it, or you can go up here to size it. This one from the corner is easier because then you could do it exactly how you need to inside of here. So what you want to do is you just want to make sure everything's inside of where you measured, and it looks like it is. So what you want to do from here is, if you want to do framing basically shows you where the laser is going to be cutting. Since you marked the area when you frame it, if you want to verify that it's going to be in the correct area, you can hit this framing button. So when you hit the framing button, you have to go over here to your laser engraver, and you're going to hit this button here. This will show you where exactly it's going to put your image or your design. You don't have to do this when you mark it because you marked it, so it will go, the design will go exactly how you marked it. However, if you did not mark it and you say put the design on your canvas, say on your canvas your design is here, then if you framed it, it will frame right here even though your material is here. So it'll let you know that you're not in the right area to where it's going to engrave. So once you're done framing, you're going to do framing complete. And in order to process this, what you're going to do is you're going to close your lid. You're going to go to process. This is where you can preview how it's going to look. It says it's only going to take 1 minute and 44 seconds. So this gives you the estimated time down here in the bottom left. So if you're okay with that, then you can hit start and okay. And in my case, I'm going to turn my fan on since I'm working with wood. And then in order to start it, after you pushed all the necessary buttons in xTool Creative Space, you're going to hit this. So as you can see, it's doing the engraving first. Okay, so now it's done. So it did the engraving first, the scoring, and then the cutting last. So say if you don't like the settings here. So say if this didn't cut out. So I have some 3mm basswood plywood that does not work with the settings specifically from xTool Creative Space. So I had to determine what settings work best for the material in my laser. So let me show you guys how you can do that. So we're going to get another piece of this basswood plywood here, and we're going to put it on here, and we're going to do the same process. We're going to go ahead and put the laser off top and basically just get the area, start marking the area that we want to do our test on. Marked my area. So I'm going to go over here to shapes, and I'm going to pick a shape that I want to use. So you can pick, I usually like to pick the heart because it has a rounded and it has like a pointed end on it. So that way you can kind of get the different types of angles in there, sharp and curved. So you can see how those look on your test. So how you get a test array is, we're going to close this out. You're going to go right here to this applications, and you're going to do a materials test array. So you click this, and I usually leave the settings how it has it, but if you want to adjust the settings, you can do it here by adjusting what you want your max percent and your max millimeters per second to be. I'm just going to leave it like this. These usually work best. These usually work just fine for all the materials that I test. So I'm going to push done. So in this case, I already had this set onto score. So what you do is, if you want this to be on score, you leave this here and you just size this down, and you go over here, and then you could just make it as big as you want as long as it fits in the area that you marked. And then all you have to do from here is close your lid and process it so that you can see what would be the best settings for when you're scoring on the particular material. So let me show you guys what that looks like. So again, down here, it said it was going to take about 2 minutes. So this is the scoring. You want to do test on the materials of the type of setting that you want to use so that you can have the best settings for your laser engraver and your material. So in this case, you can do a materials test array for the 3 different settings. So for right here, this will be the test array for scoring. We can do another one for engraving, and then another one for cutting. Okay, so that's a fast way to determine which settings you like best for scoring. So as you can see, if you have 100 power at 10 speed, it'll actually cut out under scoring. So if you don't want it to cut out your material or make a cutout in your material, you just want to make sure you do not use the settings down here for scoring. So then you can just determine for yourself what you like to be your settings for when you're scoring with this particular type of material. So the next thing I want to show you is how you can get something like this to where, I don't know if you can see it too good up here. So this says engrave test. So this is a test I did on a piece of slate coaster, and I determined what I thought was best for the settings. So I'll show you guys how to get your settings for engraving, and then I'll show you guys how you can do engraving and design on a round coaster. All right, so we're back here. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't want this one anymore. I'm just gonna delete it out, and I'm gonna change this to user defined, because it didn't matter that that was set up here to basswood plywood, but I don't want you guys to see this up here as a material, even though we're going to be focusing on, because when you do these test arrays, it's not based off having the setting to a specific material. It's based off of having different settings for the power and the speed to see how it works on the material that you're using. And then you can create your own type of user-defined materials. Okay, so the same thing again you're gonna do, but what you wanna make sure you do this time is when you put whatever image that you wanna use for your test array, you change it to what you want it to be first. This is the key. You don't wanna change it after, because that's not gonna work. So if you go here to engrave, this is what you wanna do. You'll close this out. You'll go down here again to applications, and then you'll do materials test array. Done. And then you'll size this down, and then you'll put this in here, and then you'll do the same process we just did for scoring, and then it gives you again that engraving test that I showed you on that slate coaster, that's how it turned out for me. You can do this engraved test on all the different type of materials you have. You can use the same exact grid here, our test array. You don't need to do any specific settings. All you have to do is just change out your different materials, and then you can get the settings based off what you think is best after you have your test completed. So the next thing I want to show you guys is how you can create a design on a coaster. So we're going to go up here to user defined material, and then we're going to find where they have slate coasters. So right here, rock coaster. So we're going to select rock coaster, confirm. And I'm going to show you guys what you need to do if you have a round material, in this case, a round coaster. So I have a round coaster here. I'm going to place it on my honeycomb. I am going to put the laser on top of it, and I'm going to get that distance measurement. This is going to measure the distance from the material to your laser. So now to do the marking of the coaster, what you're going to do is you're going to go to this mark processing area. You're going to hit circle, start marking. So right here it tells you you want to have 3 different points that you're going to mark. So how you do that is you just go to 3 different points on here. And then each time you're going to press this button. So 1, go to a different area, 2, and 3. They don't have to be exactly in different spots. I mean, they don't have to be exact places every time. You just want to get 3 different points. They don't have to be perfect. Okay, so once you get your 3, so you have your circle, now that you have your 3 points, and then you'll do in marking, done. And then what you want to do now is add your design to fit inside of your marked area. So if you want to do an AI one, you can go here. And you can select something like this. So then we could put in tiger, generate. So you could just play around with this. You can put whatever you want. It could be something simple, or if you wanted to put, like you saw before, I had haunted house with skeletons or whatever, you can do that. So then you see if you like what it comes up with. So I like how this one looks here. I actually like both, but I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to say import to XCS, as I showed you guys before. Yes, scale to fit the canvas. And then what I'm going to do here is I am going to make that smaller. And then for this image, you go, if you want to invert it, how you do that is you go hit adjust and invert. That's how you're able to get the image to invert. Then you can close out of here, and then you can just size this down so that it fits in the area that you marked. So then you can leave it. Oh, if you want to change the bitmap mode, so once you have your material, your image selected, you want to make sure that your material is still selected. So I'm going to put rock coaster confirm. And then it's on grayscale, so I'm going to go to process. This will show me how it would look. So this is how it looks on grayscale. And it says it will take about 9 minutes. So if you wanted to play around with like the different type of bitmaps, you can do that. So if you say put it on Bayer, you can go to process to see how that will look. And see how it looks like more grainy. So I'm going to leave it on grayscale. And since I have it on the slate or the rock coaster or the slate coaster that I'm using, I'm just going to use the settings that are already in place through xTool Creative Space. So then what you do now is you just close your lid. Oh, and then if you want to frame it, you can do that too. But you can close your lid and process. So once it beeps, it'll turn this button here blue, and then you can push it to start. So it said it will take about 9 minutes. So I'll get back to you guys with how it's looking as it goes along. So say if you don't want to wait the whole time to start working on another project, how you do that is you go over here to the top left and you hit this minimize. And then you can open another project by hitting this plus button. So you can hit this add button here, and then it will add a whole new canvas that you can start working on. To rename your project, you just right click up here and you push rename. So we can just name this if you want to add another canvas to your project that you're working on, you can just click this canvas here, and then right here is an add button, and then you can add as many canvases as you want to the same project. So say if you want to keep track of your canvases as well, you can also rename your canvases. You can go up here to this 3 dots and you click that and you can push rename, and you can name it to whatever you want. And you can do that for each canvas. So say if you decided that you didn't want that last canvas that you put in, you can hit those 3 dots again and push delete. And that's how you get rid of those canvases as well. So if you want to close out of this, then you just hit the canvas again, and then that closes it out. Okay, so it finished engraving this coaster. So like I said again, this is on the settings that are in place for the slate coaster, and that looks beautiful. So that's how you can easily do a coaster or something that's circular. That's how you can mark it and then engrave on it. So let me show you guys one more thing that you can do if you have a rotary, the RA2 rotary. To set up your rotary, when you already have your xTool S1 set up or whatever, well, I have the xTool S1, is what you need to do is turn it off. So I'm going to turn it off from the back. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to either take out your honeycomb in your base plate, or if you just want to leave your base plate in there. You can, but I usually remove mine. So then you can get your RA2 rotary. So in this case, I have mine set up with these pieces on there. And what you're gonna do is you want to connect this with your xTool X1 turned off. So I'm gonna place it in here. So when you place it in there, you wanna place it so that the xTool is facing you. And then you're gonna come over here, come right here, and there's gonna be a little cover over the area where you're supposed to input. So then you're gonna put that inside of there. And once that's inside of there, what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn your xTool S1 back on. If you guys want to see a tutorial on how to put together your RA2 Pro rotary, then you can check out my video. It's very detailed on how you can use it to set up for different types of tumblers or glasses, things like that. So once you have your RA2 attached, what you can go to here is go to this process on base plate. You're going to change this to roller if you're using the roller attachment on your RA2 Pro, or you use the chuck. So in this case, I'm going to be using the chuck, as you can see. So then you have that set up like this, and then you can go up here to user defined material, and you can select which type of material you're going to use. Lastly, what I wanted to show you guys is how you can use the different settings up here at the top. So let's go here to shapes, and we'll just put a few shapes in. So I'll do a triangle, and I'll do a tree, and a bat. So this is just for demonstrational purposes. So if you want this tree to be cut out of this triangle here, you would highlight both of them, and then up here you have these different settings. So this one is to unite them, this is to subtract them, this is to unite and overlap, and this is to subtract and overlap. So if you unite them, it doesn't do anything, as you can see. It united them, so it made that tree a part of the triangle. That's not what you want. So you can just play around with these settings to see what they do, but I'm just going to show you right here what each one does. So you can highlight again, and then you can do subtract. So in this case, it took out the piece, it took out the tree in the triangle. So if you engrave it or cut it, then you would have the tree part cut out in the middle of the triangle. Okay? So that one is if you want to have a piece cut out. If you wanted to add a piece, so say if you wanted to add this bat to the bottom, you highlight everything. That's when you'll use unite, because it's not in the middle of the triangle, it's off to the side of it. So when you unite them, they all become one piece. So then I showed you guys those, so then let's add something else. So if you add a heart, and you highlight everything here, Also wanted to show you guys, if you wanted to know how to ignore some pieces on your canvas that you want to cut out. So for example, say if you have two different sets of images that you want to cut out. Say this piece right here is as big as your material that you're using, but you still have other pieces that you want to include, like this one. So what you could do is you could put this to ignore, so you just uncheck this output. So then when you go to process it, it won't let me do it because I'm not hooked up to the xTool S1. When you go to process it, it will only show this design here. And then once you're finished, you could put this back to output and then change this one to ignore. So just unselect it and then it will only focus on doing this piece here. So I just wanted to show you guys that real quick. Also too, when I first started, somehow both of my images were set to ignore, and or this output wasn't selected. So when I went to go to process it, it kept saying that there was nothing on the canvas, there was nothing to engrave, even though you can clearly see that it's there. So that's another thing. If you ever notice that you already did your whole design, but for some reason it's not saying that it's there, make sure that your output is selected and it's not on ignore. Okay? So basically these work well for like if you're doing a design to where you're maybe creating like a light box or something, you can put a whole bunch of different images inside and connect them. So I have some videos on that as well. So I'll link my xTool S1 project so that you guys can see different type of things that you can do with your S1 that are easy to follow, and just to get you started with different projects to get used to using your xTool S1. Thank you guys for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if there's anything else that I missed that you would like to see that I can show you. I try to do just like a basic overview and not to give you too much information at once, but if you'd like to see more, just let me know. Take care, stay blessed.